Sign up today for a 7-day free trial at alerts.chartguys.com. Hey everyone, checking back in on the cryptocurrency space. Been a while since we've done our own video. I've been with Nugget's News. We did a live stream during the dump, and then I went on Cointelegraph, had a little chat with them. But now we're back to the Chart Guys original channel. So what we have unfolding is clearly a very bearish event and some FUD and fear and uncertainty with the Bitfinex and Tether situation. And now we have the potential coming out that the funds are tied up with the Colombian drug dealers. I don't know. The bottom line is we're still waiting for details to come out. And the other bottom line is the most important things let's go over. Clearly there's some uncertainty and some FUD going on. We don't know about Bitfinex, what kind of trouble they're going to be in, whether the Attorney General of New York is going to continue giving them issues. We don't know the Tether situation, whether they backed up those missing funds with Tether. All that is uncertainty. What also is clear is the bulls are holding up really well in response to this news. The fact that the bearish reaction to this news saw a initial pullback and then so far no further downside is very impressive. At this point, we did drop 10%, but we also have recovered a good bit from that drop. So 10% on the way down, and then from the low to where we stand right in this moment, we saw a 4+% bounce, getting almost half of that back. So this is an interesting scenario where we have the bulls have been in control very clearly over the past month plus. We have a loss of some support levels, but we are, for me, it's all about 49.01. That is our range. We have the high of the bull move initially, the low of that pullback. We did hit a higher high. The FUD news lost the daily 12-period exponential support. I've been talking about that for weeks at this point. That's been my guide. Bulls have been in full control. Don't even consider the bears until we lose that support level. That support level has now been lost, so now we consider the bears. But that being said, if on the back of this news, if we break bullish from this tightening range, clearly we're still, it's price discovery. We had a bunch of volatility, and now the price is trying to find its true range, absorbing this news and pricing it in. But if we hold 49.01 and see a bull break from here, that's going to be a statement from the bulls, in my opinion. Because if we're in a scenario where this kind of magnitude of bad news is not going to derail the bulls, what's it going to take? You know, all the people that are waiting for lower lows on the weekly time frame and do not think that Bitcoin has bottomed yet, if we hold 5,000 on this bearish news, what is it going to take in order to see the significant 38% pullback that the bears would need to see to get that lower low? So if it's not going to happen on this news, are we just going to slowly shift sentiment? Clearly the sentiment shifted with the weekly trend change. How is that sentiment going to shift back to bearish from this point if bad news isn't going to do it? So again, it's all a big if, because it's only been digested for about a day and a half at this point, and we could very easily see another lower low. And if that is the case, if we do drop down to a lower low and break 4,900, then we have to say, all right, weekly time frame is consolidating to form a weekly higher low compared to 38.58, and we have to see how we respond from here. We have to see if the bulls can eventually shake that off, but it does add a lot more uncertainty. If we hold 4,900, that's a big victory for the bulls, and that's proving their resiliency in the face of bearish FUD. So I'd be curious, leave your comment. If this news does not break 5,000, does not break 4,900, what's it going to take to drop to lower lows and see the sentiment required for a 40% drop from these levels to break the recent lows of Bitcoin? Not saying it can't happen, I just don't think that would be likely if this bad news isn't going to derail the bulls. So we've been watching the alert system here, alerts.chartguys.com, for the 15-minute oversold climax, which for the past 10 days, week and a half, has been a nice entry signal for Bitcoin. This is an example where, in my opinion, there are some things that human traders can do that bots cannot do right now. And perhaps with machine learning down the line, that will change and the bots will be able to do this. But the example I'm talking about is if I have a bot and I see, okay, 15-minute oversold climax is an area to start making an entry because we have seen bounces consistently time and time again from those levels. So if I program a bot to do that, this trigger of oversold conditions happened at 53.35. And from there, in the next 10-15 minutes, we dropped down another $400. So obviously, anybody entering on the signal this time would have been a big loser. So the bot that you programmed to buy at those conditions would have been buying there. A human can recognize bad news just came out, the market is reacting to this bad news, and hold off and say, okay, I know this signal has been working, but things are different this time around. This is a news-based event. When it's news-based, RSI levels can get much more extended than we are used to when it's just regular trading, and that would be a scenario to hold off and not act on that signal. So I personally did end up buying this dip, and it was the kind of scenario where we saw a very laggard, delayed reaction, I should say, to this news. The news was posted, then 20 minutes later, a member posted it in our chat room, and I'm sitting there and I'm saying, where is the bearish reaction? The price is holding up on Bitcoin at this point. It then took another 15 minutes and me posting it on Twitter, and then Twitter starting to share things around. Again, not saying I was the reason that Twitter found out about the news, but my post definitely aligns on this dump with when the real bear volume started coming in. So just to go over the events and how they played out, the news came out right around here, posted on websites and articles, posted in our chat room right around here, and then me saying, this is a laggard opportunity. I went to Twitter, and this is how you use social media. A lot of traders out there will say, if you're looking on Twitter for trades, you're wasting your time, blah, blah, blah. It's a social indicator. It's a social media indicator. And I went to Twitter, and I looked around at all the major, crypto people, and no one was tweeting about this news. And I said, okay, a lack of a bear reaction on significant bearish news, nobody talking about it on Twitter, there is an opportunity for bears here to get in as a laggard move. So posted that and said, hey, there's an opportunity here, I think, and posted that right around here. Then I went to Twitter and said, hey, this news is going on. Some people shared it. Nuggets News posted it then shortly after. And then there's the volume and the bear reaction. So in my opinion, this is bots and traders picking up on social media getting onto this news. But there was 40 minutes to act on the news before the market really started to price that in. So that was an opportunity. As far as scaling in, I was playing the oversold bounce. I started scaling in my orders under 5,000 psychological. So I had an order just under 5,000. I had another order just under 4,900 and another just under 4,800. Spacing them out, making sure to not try and go in too heavy because I don't know how bearish this news reaction is going to be. But it got to the point where I was comfortable to begin scaling in. I only got one order filled, and that filled under 5,000, and I sold it 5-10 minutes later over 5,100. So I ended up with a 2% move, and because it was only one position, it wasn't a huge gain. It was a half of a day maker of what my stock market day maker would I consider. So I ended up just locking that in really quickly because, again, I'm trading against the trend. I just got a 2% move against the trend in the face of bad news in 10 minutes. I'm going to lock that in every time and then safely wait from the sideline and see how it plays out from there. So where we stand on the 4-hour time frame, we're patiently waiting for the break of these daily inside bars. Getting back to where we were here. And we can see we're grinding the 4-hour exponential resistance at this point. So I'm looking at the low, the high of the bounce, our higher low, and looks like we have a clear higher low pattern to be watching on these 4-hour candles. I'm looking at 50.41. 51.17 is a level in here, another higher low at 51.39, and it looks like the bulls just held that support. So you can see we've been tightening up the last 20 hours or so, and we're either going to see a bull break of 52.21 and head up to the top of the original bounce, or we're going to lose the 4-hour uptrend and look back down to 50.41 and then the low of 49.63. So 4-hour time frames tightening up. Let's see if there's more details on the hourly. We can see a bit of an hourly equilibrium if we want to look at it on the shorter term, and we would have levels a little bit tighter to be watching. We're looking for a potential lower high compared to 52.14 if we're going to stay in this hourly tightening range into this evening. I expect a break to occur as we head to start the week of this 4-hour pattern. So keeping a close eye on Bitcoin, of course. From there, we're looking at the other altcoins, obviously, and we've seen some bearish reactions. First thing I want to know on ETH, we've been watching that ETH BTC chart. How is that holding up? The weekly chart has been in a tight equilibrium. I want to know if it breaks bearish. We're looking bearish on Ethereum compared to Bitcoin because this pattern is so clear. And right now we can see 29.81. We did get a bear break, not by a whole lot, but it is a bear break. So we have, that's exactly what the Ethereum bears want to see. Keeping in mind that when this chart breaks bearish, one of two things happens. We either see Ethereum lag Bitcoin bullish, or if Bitcoin is bearish, we see Ethereum see more extended moves to the downside. So just because this breaks doesn't mean Ethereum is bearish. It means Ethereum is more bearish relative to Bitcoin. So this break right now is not convincing. We do need to see more follow through. And if this daily bear flag confirms, it is a daily bear flag setup right now. And if that drops down and sees a lower low below 292, that's going to be the clear weekly bear break. And we're looking down at the all-time, or not the all-time low, but the summer low, or I should say the low of the pullback from all-time highs. 244 would be the next level, and then 231. So we're on the verge of a very clear bear break, and this is not what the bulls of Ethereum want to be seeing right now. Ethereum on the daily chart, very clear lower high and lower low. Weekly consolidation is very clearly underway, keeping in mind that Bitcoin's weekly consolidation is not underway yet. We have to lose that 4,900 level. And the reason for that is we have a higher low every candlestick for the last 4 candles. So we're still on this same bull move. If we break the higher low every candle setup, that's when we look for the clear shift in momentum to need to form the weekly higher low. So for Ethereum, that has already happened. We're looking for a higher low compared to 130.64, but that ETH BTC chart has me not interested in Ethereum bullish because of that clear weekly bear break. The daily RSI will be right back to oversold if we do see a lower low. There will be oversold bounces on the way down, but just playing the longer term trends, I'm going to be focusing on Bitcoin and Litecoin as opposed to Ethereum as long as this weekly chart is in a downtrend. So for Ethereum specific levels, if we're looking at the daily chart, it's a potential bear flag on ETH as well. If we see this inside bar break bearish and we drop down and break 153.14 and 152.54, we're heading down to the low of 146 as a key level, and that would potentially confirm the daily bear flag and tell us that our weekly higher low has not been established yet. We have to change the daily trend for us to say, all right, our weekly higher low is established, and the bulls are trying to make their way back up to the recent high, but changing the daily trend is step number 1 for that to happen, and we're still looking to form a daily lower high on this little bounce attempt. So checking Litecoin. Litecoin has been consolidating much longer at this point, and we're close to daily oversold. I'll be interested in Litecoin if we see daily oversold conditions. The next support level is down at about 60 psychological. We can see all this previous price action. We saw the big, huge bull move with no support established on the way up, and we're just slowly working our way back through those price levels that don't have a lot of action. So there's not a lot of support, but there is a lot of support and previous price action in the low 60s. So that's when I'm going to start being interested, and that's when the daily RSI is going to start approaching oversold conditions. So if Bitcoin were to break its 4-hour equilibrium and 4-hour uptrend bearish, we'd be looking for Litecoin to drop down to the mid and lower 60s, and we're going to watch the daily RSI get close to oversold as well. We did just drop to a clear lower low, so we're weaker than Bitcoin right now. Bitcoin has a 4-hour uptrend, Litecoin with a very clear 4-hour downtrend. So I want to compare and see if there are any clear technical levels that I need to be watching on the LTC BTC chart. So LTC BTC on the weekly time frame is a bit of a different story. You can see on the Ethereum chart it's much weaker, and LTC BTC chart on the weekly has been much stronger. We have lost the weekly uptrend, but I'm still much more comfortable with where we stand on that weekly chart for LTC BTC than I am for ETH BTC. So right now, Litecoin BTC support 1285, and the bulls are going to have to change the daily trend in order for Litecoin to be the better alternative compared to Bitcoin if looking bullish. Just something I'm keeping my eye on overall, and perhaps it will take oversold conditions on both LTC USD and LTC BTC on the daily time frame, or right there, to see a momentum shift. So I am keeping an eye on both those charts. XRP USD doing its own thing a little bit the past couple days. The bounce much stronger. We had a much more bearish break earlier as well. So I'm not interested in Ripple for the bulls unless we see a clear daily trend change. On this bounce, anything under 334 is just a lower high. And we are going to have to top out and reject from that resistance level as a most likely scenario, come down, hold 282, and then change the daily trend in order for us to be looking at the bulls shifting momentum. Keeping in mind that we have broken some supports on the weekly time frame, so have to be very cautious here on XRP. And for me, as a criteria, have to be trading with the trend. Ideally, if we're not trading with the trend, in my opinion, it's just for short-term oversold bounces and for quick flips. If we're looking at anything of a swing trade, we want the daily trend in our favor, and we have to wait for a higher low and higher high on XRP in order to get that. The first indication that our daily lower high has been set on this bounce is a loss of the 4-hour uptrend, which is still intact at this point. Anything above 3025 is a 4-hour higher low. And BNB. So BNB still has a daily uptrend at this point. Our higher low on the daily time frame is established at 2088. That's the must-hold short-term level, because if we were to come down and break that support, that tells us weekly consolidation is underway. It's a weekly inside bar that's about to close here in just about 8 hours or so, and we have to see a clear hold of 2088 and a break of 2379 in order for the bulls to try and test this all-time high. You can see we're trading sideways a bit the past couple days, and on the 4-hour time frame, a little bit more clarity as far as some shorter term support and resistance levels go, but it's all about that 2088 level, knowing that if it breaks, weekly consolidation is underway for the first real time in the past few months. We had very brief lower wicks that were bought very quickly, but in my opinion, if that 2088 level breaks on the back of this news that Bitcoin is seeing and the cryptocurrency space, I think that that will lead to the more pronounced weekly consolidation that we just haven't seen on the way up. So 2088, key support. We'll see if the bulls can hold that level over the next couple of days. We're still grinding that daily 12-period exponential 5 days in a row now, holding that support, which Bitcoin has been unable to do. So overall, most interested in how this 4-hour tight pattern breaks on Bitcoin. If it breaks bearish, we're zooming out and looking right back down at the low of the bearish reaction. 4,900 is the most important support on the daily and weekly time frame for me for short-term direction to know which way to be looking. And other than that, bears right now are probably going to bounce or jump, pounce, be on it like a bonnet on Bitcoin if we lose this 4-hour uptrend. I assume the bears are going to jump in and then they would top fish the top of this bounce, 52.21 or 52.95. As far as the other coins go, again, Litecoin, I would not be looking for a bearish entry at this point. The 4-hour RSI is at 30. The daily RSI is approaching oversold. So I would not be looking for a bearish entry on Litecoin due to that fact. And as far as Ethereum goes, pretty similar situation, just the fact that we've been seeing so much weakness. Although, if it is a daily bear flag, same scenario. Lose the 4-hour uptrend, which we actually just did without a whole lot of follow through yet, but potentially top fishing that 159 level to be looking for that daily lower high being set. And if it is indeed a bear flag playing out, that's a solid 10% gain, depending on where your entry is, but 10% pullback from that 159 level if we do drop to lower lows under 146. So a lot to be watching, but things have slowed down as we're getting that price discovery, as we're seeing how the market is going to price in this news. Never a dull moment out there. Well, I take it back. There are definitely dull moments, but not in the past few days. So those are the key levels I'm watching. Litecoin, I will be interested in daily oversold RSI for both Litecoin and LTC BTC charts. We'll check back in the near-term future. Hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Do some good things out there. Check out the free trial of the alert system, alert.chartguys.com, and we'll see you soon.